Viewer discretion is highly recommended. The following content is intended solely for entertainment and educational purposes. On the 13th day of the federal trial against Shaun Diddy Combs, an unexpected figure appeared at the courtroom. Doors. Adam Sandler. The beloved comedian, renowned for his goofy persona and memorable characters, was not there to entertain anyone. He was present to share the truth. His words brought an eerie silence to the room. With a shaky voice, Sandler revealed that Diddy had once compelled him to shower next to him, coerced him into taking shirtless naps in the same bed, and pressured him into strange rituals that left him feeling degraded and shattered. What started as a close friendship, he claimed, turned into a living nightmare. For the first time, he was no longer speaking as a friend within Hollywood, but as a witness recounting his experiences, as he detailed his disturbing encounters with Shaun Diddy Combs. The courtroom listened intently, especially when he recounted the fateful night that changed everything for him, a night that would replay in his mind for years to come. "I didn't want to go," Sandler confessed. "I felt uneasy about the trip, but I didn't want to offend anyone." Diddy had invited him out, referring to it as a brotherhood weekend. Sandler wondered if he was overthinking things. That evening, after dinner, Diddy gave Sandler a tour of his vast Miami mansion. Music played softly throughout the home. Incense wafted through every room, and the lighting cast a warm, golden glow. "It felt like entering a dream or a trap," Sandler remarked. Eventually, they arrived at a large door where Diddy looked Sandler in the eye and said, "Let's wash off the day, cleanse the bad vibes." The door led to an opulent marble steam room and shower. Sandler hesitated. While it was luxurious and reminiscent of a Dubai spa, he felt uncomfortable going in with Diddy. Diddy entered first, shedding his robe and standing under the hot water. He turned to Sandler, urging him to join in, saying, "Come on, man. We boys, brothers. This is what kings do." Sandler felt an overwhelming pressure that was subtle yet stifling, making him feel that declining would be disrespectful. Reluctantly, he stepped inside, leaving his boxers on and claiming he was just rinsing off. But Diddy wasn't having it, Sandler recalled. He reached over and tugged at the waistband, laughing and saying, "Don't be shy. This ain't Hollywood. This is real life." Sandler pulled away, feeling small and trapped, as if saying no would ruin everything. The following moments became a blur. He attempted to keep the conversation casual, focusing on the shower tiles and ceiling rather than Diddy. Suddenly, Diddy leaned in close and whispered something that still haunts Sandler today. He asked, "Do you really think I included you in my circle just for laughs?" Sandler took a moment to gather himself. It felt intimidating, but also revealed a deeper truth. Following that evening, Sandler couldn't find rest. He spent the entire weekend dodging Diddy, pretending to be unwell and coming up with reasons to stay hidden in his guest room. However, he couldn't rid himself of the feeling that their relationship had changed. The barrier between friend and foe had become indistinct, leaving Sandler uncertain about Diddy's true intentions. "When I left Miami, I felt tainted," he shared with the court. "And it wasn't just about the shower." Adam continued, his voice quaking with a blend of shock and sorrow. He scanned the courtroom and admitted that even after the strange shower episode, he didn't cut ties with Diddy right away. "I made excuses for him," he confessed. "I justified it by saying that's just who he is. He's intense. He's unique." But deep down, he realized he was in denial because he didn't want to accept that his friend could harbor darker tendencies. The next unsettling encounter occurred just weeks later back in Los Angeles. Diddy had invited Adam over for what he described as a laid-back get-together. Just a relaxed day, he claimed. He mentioned they would catch some movies and maybe brainstorm some sketches, reminiscing about old times, Adam recounted. So, he went. The house was eerily quiet. There were no assistants or entourage, just Diddy lounging in silk pajamas, remote control in hand. He greeted me as if nothing strange had occurred previously, Adam remarked. That was his influence. He made you question your own discomfort. They settled in to watch a comedy they both adored as children. For a brief moment, it felt like a return to normalcy. But then, Diddy paused the film, turned to Sandler and said, "You seem tired. Come take a nap with me, bro. Just relax." Adam chuckled nervously, unsure whether it was meant as a joke, but Diddy remained serious. He stood up, walked toward the bedroom, and glanced back as if expecting Sandler to follow. Against all his instincts, Sandler trailed behind. He didn't want to create an awkward situation. He thought that by playing along, everything would remain fine. In the bedroom, Diddy climbed into an enormous California king bed and patted the spot next to him. Adam perched on the edge, tense and silent. Diddy reassured him, "You don't have to do anything, just close your eyes. Trust me." The silence lingered. The room seemed to shrink with each passing moment. Then Diddy spoke again, stating, "You belong to me now, Sandy. You always have." "Those words are etched in my memory," Adam said, feeling his throat tighten. It wasn't just what he said, but how he said it. Calm, self-assured, as if it was the most natural thing ever. Adam lay there rigid, keeping his eyes wide open. He stayed still, merely waiting for the ordeal to conclude. That nap felt like the most protracted hour of his existence. When Adam finally stood up, he fabricated a reason to leave the house. He shared in court that he got into his car and wept all the way home, realizing this wasn't true friendship, but rather manipulation. Yet he kept it to himself for the time being. How do you share with others that the person who helped launch your crossover music video, whom you once considered your comedic partner, is also the one who instilled fear in you? Adam expressed that he believed he could manage the situation, unaware that it was only the beginning of his troubles. As he gazed at the courtroom floor, Adam Sandler spoke softly, each syllable heavy with emotion. He recounted that the next event was when everything within him shattered. He recounted how, despite increasingly alarming actions, Diddy continued to behave as if nothing was amiss. He would send Adam humorous memes, shower him with extravagant gifts, and show up unexpectedly with tales of his Hollywood endeavors, seemingly trying to erase the past and make Adam doubt his own experiences. However, the pivotal incident, which Sandler labeled the breaking point, took place during an exclusive industry retreat in Aspen. He described it as a ski getaway for creatives, writers, producers, artists, the crème de la crème of the industry. Sandler had only consented to attend because it was a public gathering filled with people. He thought he would be safe, believing Diddy wouldn't attempt anything with so many witnesses around. But Diddy had booked a secluded lodge a few miles away from the main resort, suggesting they take a snowmobile ride to reach it. Just the two of them, a quick getaway from the crowd. Despite his instincts telling him otherwise, Sandler went, along with it. Upon arrival, it was just the two of them and a roaring fire in a vast stone fireplace. He noticed a camera set up on a tripod and assumed Diddy was either vlogging or engaged in some eccentric art project. What unfolded next made Sandler's stomach turn. Diddy approached a nearby dresser, retrieved a pair of silk shorts and a robe, and tossed them to Adam, instructing him to wear them. Adam hesitated, telling him he was fine as he was, but Diddy persisted, insisting, "You're in my space now. This is how we do it." He pressured, joked, and tried to make it seem innocent. Eventually, Sandler acquiesced and stepped into a bathroom to change, not wanting to provoke a confrontation or be left alone in the woods with an angry Diddy. When he came back out, Diddy was already draped in a robe, lounging on a bearskin rug by the fire, looking at him like a predator. He declared, "Now we're equals, no layers, no lies," before telling Adam to undress completely, urging him to be raw and let go. Adam refused, but Diddy didn't accept no for an answer. He rose, approached Adam, and attempted to untie his robe. Sandler pushed him away and moved toward the exit. I informed him of my decision to leave. He replied, "You'd regret this? It concerns trust." He added, "You can't abandon someone who knows your true self." Nevertheless, Adam chose to leave anyway. Once back at the resort, he avoided speaking to anyone. I felt exposed, violated, and bewildered. Although I wasn't physically harmed, emotionally I was crushed. Sandler hesitated, shaking his head in disbelief. "I never put that robe on again, and I've never felt clean since then." Adam took a moment on the stand, and for the first time his voice faltered, not out of fear, but from a deeper pain, heartbreak. "I loved him," Adam revealed, with tears welling up in his eyes. "Not in a romantic way, but I cared for him like a brother or a mentor. I thought he supported me and recognized something within me that no one else did. Perhaps he did see that, but now I question whether it was something he could exploit." The courtroom fell silent as Adam unveiled the layers of a friendship that had once brought him happiness. In the early 2000s, he noted that Diddy was everywhere, and for a while, Adam was right there with him. They attended parties, premieres, and even went on double dates. They would share jokes and discuss movies they wanted to make, blending hop with comedy. It was exhilarating, creative, as if they were constructing something together. However, the change occurred quietly, like poison seeping into water. Adam recounted moments that, with hindsight, seemed manipulative. Diddy would call him at 2 a.m. needing help, only to entrap him in lengthy discussions about trust, loyalty, and secrets shared among men. He would make Adam feel guilty for spending time with other friends, saying things like, "They don't understand you like I do," or, "Do you think Sandler exists without Puff?" It was psychological manipulation disguised as friendship. Adam mentioned feeling like an object, as if he owed Diddy something. For every opportunity, dinner paid for, and introduction to influential people in the industry, he sensed there was an unspoken debt. Yet, Adam remained because trauma complicates perception. In Diddy's world, boundaries didn't just blur, they disappeared entirely. He recalled a haunting incident from New Year's Eve 2006. They were in the Bahamas at a luxurious villa. As midnight struck, everyone celebrated, but Diddy pulled Adam aside and declared, "This year, you belong to me." At the time, Adam laughed it off, dismissing it as typical Diddy bravado. However, now, under oath, he understood the true significance. It wasn't a joke, it was a declaration. Adam confessed that he didn't want to accept what was happening. He tried to rationalize and downplay it. Without physical injuries, he convinced himself he wasn't a victim. While he wasn't confined to a room, he felt emotionally imprisoned. "That still constitutes abuse," he stated, noting that it took therapy for him to even label it as such. "It took a long time for me to break free from the harmful kind of affection I received, realizing that Diddy's influence was not solely based on his fame or riches, but in how he made me feel like I was insignificant without him. I once described him as the most charming person I'd ever encountered," Adam shared with the court. "Now I refer to him as the most perilous." The courtroom fell silent, and that silence conveyed so much meaning. The man who had always brought laughter had finally stopped playing pretend. The betrayal that had previously been hidden behind humor was now laid bare in stark, haunting detail. Adam Sandler leaned forward in his chair, as if the weight of what he was about to reveal required a push to express it. "There's something I've never shared with anyone before," he began, lowering his voice for a more serious tone. "Not my wife, not my agent, not even my therapist, until this trial began." He recalled an evening in 2007 when Diddy invited him to his estate for what he called a creative review session. He mentioned wanting my input on a new comedy project, hinting it could be a major breakthrough for us. He made it seem like we would be watching footage together, brainstorming ideas, just two friends having fun with concepts. Adam hesitated. But that wasn't the reality. Upon arriving, Diddy welcomed him with a cigar and a glass of Hennessy. There were no assistants or other creatives around, just the two of them. The atmosphere felt unsettling, but Adam didn't want to create any awkwardness. A large screen was set up, and the first video looked like some personal footage. I thought, it might be behind-the-scenes material, but when it started playing, I was stunned. What flashed on the screen wasn't a comedy pilot at all. It was grainy, poorly lit footage of another celebrity, naked and confused, being filmed without consent. Adam chose not to disclose the identity of the person. "That's not for me to say," he stated, but witnessing that was disturbing. I told Diddy to turn it off right away, yet instead of stopping, Diddy laughed. He remarked, "Come on, man. That's the industry. We all have tapes." Adam attempted to leave, but before he could reach the door, Diddy blocked his path. "He wasn't physically threatening me," Adam clarified. "He didn't need to be." He said, "What if I told you I had one of you?" The courtroom felt heavy with tension. I asked him what he meant by that. He replied, "Back in Aspen, the robe, the camera was rolling." Adam felt his stomach drop. I hadn't even remembered the camera. I had convinced myself he wouldn't record anything. But in that moment, I understood he had something on me. Insurance. Diddy eventually allowed him to leave, but not before saying, "You're safe as long as you stay loyal." That evening, Adam sat in his car for 2 hours, unable to drive. It was clear then that I wasn't a friend. I was merely a pawn. He never spoke to Diddy again, yet the fear lingered on. He began declining interviews, steering clear of late-night shows, and taking on fewer public engagements. While people assumed I was simply being picky, in reality, I was terrified. I had no idea what he was capable of or how he might react if I pushed back. With tears in his eyes, he lifted his gaze. "I'm not afraid anymore." Adam Sandler sat in silence for a moment, as if summoning the courage to reveal the hidden struggles. "People see me as the funny guy, the one with the goofy voice, the Happy Gilmore guy," he said, managing a faint smile that quickly disappeared. "But they don't realize the nights I wake up drenched in sweat, the times I've wept quietly while my family was asleep, and the burdens that haunt me long after the laughter has died down." He admitted that since 2008 he had been plagued by intense night terrors, episodes where he would awaken screaming, drenched in sweat, his heart racing. And they always brought him back to Diddy, he said. The nightmares weren't straightforward. They were metaphorical, twisted memories. In one, he finds himself performing stand-up on stage to an empty audience, with Diddy at the back shaking his head slowly. In another, he's trapped in a room full of mirrors, with every reflection showing him wearing that silk robe. "I started to think I was losing my mind," Adam revealed. "Who would believe that someone like me, Adam Sandler, could be afraid of someone like Diddy?" He noted that even his closest colleagues noticed a shift in him. I withdrew. I stopped trusting others. I began turning down opportunities I would have jumped at before. He shared that while filming Uncut Gems, he almost quit midway, not due to the script or pressure, but because one of the filming locations reminded him of Diddy's lodge in Aspen, with the same wood paneling and scent of cologne lingering in the air. I froze. I told the director I was unwell, but the truth is, I couldn't breathe in that space. It wasn't until 2019 that Adam sought therapy after collapsing on set from what doctors labeled exhaustion. However, in therapy, he received an entirely different diagnosis, PTSD. I didn't want to accept it. PTSD is for soldiers, right? For those who've faced trauma. I'm just a comedian. But trauma doesn't discriminate based on occupation. He talked about how challenging it was to acknowledge that what happened wasn't just a strange incident or bad vibes, it was psychological abuse. He didn't hit me physically, but he assaulted my mind, my dignity. When asked if he ever considered going public before, Adam nodded twice. Once in 2010, he wrote a letter to his agency expressing concerns about Diddy's behavior. They advised him to let it go, warning that he'd ruin his career if he went after someone so powerful. The second time was in 2021 during a podcast interview, which was later edited before airing. I had previously mentioned a powerful figure in the music industry who once made me feel threatened, but that comment never made it to air. He described his experience as if a ghost was present in every project he took on. Whenever I heard his name in the news, I would flinch, and his voice echoed in my mind, claiming ownership over me. Adam looked at the jury and expressed that this trial and courtroom setting were the first instances where he felt like he might not be losing his mind, that perhaps someone finally believed him. For the first time in years, he embraced the silence without needing to lighten the mood with humor. The truth spoke volumes. Sitting up straighter, Adam's voice carried a newfound strength instead of hesitation. The courtroom, having witnessed his past betrayals and hidden pain, leaned in as he prepared to share the moment that liberated him from Diddy's long-held influence. In 2016, Adam recounted, they were both set to appear at a charity gala in Los Angeles for a children's hospital. It was supposed to center around giving back and healing, yet Diddy turned it into a game of power. Adam recalled how just before, he was due to introduce a group of young cancer survivors on stage. Diddy pulled him aside backstage. With an icy charm he recognized, Diddy told him, "Make me look good out there, Sandman. You owe me that." It sounded like a joke, but the tone was serious. Adam admitted he felt paralyzed. He wanted to flee, but ended up delivering the speech. He smiled for the cameras, but inside, he felt shattered upon realizing Diddy still perceived him as his possession. After the event, Adam went home and shared everything with his wife, the details he had kept buried for over 10 years. She was horrified, he explained, not just by the incident itself, but by the length of time he had suffered in silence. That night, she urged him, "You must speak up. Even if no one listens, you need to let it out." It was the first night he slept peacefully in years. In the months that followed, Adam quietly began collecting evidence. He sifted through old emails, dug up voicemails, and found footage from the 2007 Creative Review night that Diddy had recorded using his own surveillance system. Adam had no idea this footage still existed until a private investigator discovered a cloud backup connected to an old account Diddy had boasted about securing. With the help of his lawyer, Adam prepared a sealed affidavit and waited for the right opportunity. When the trial came about, he knew it was time to act. He communicated to the courtroom that his intention wasn't revenge, it was about unveiling the truth. He spent years convincing himself that his experiences weren't that severe and that he was fortunate compared to others. But trauma doesn't function that way. Silence doesn't mend it. Only the truth can. Adam's final disclosure was intensely personal. In 2022, he recounted a visit to a children's hospital where, during a puppet show, a bald but cheerful sick child asked him, "Why do you look sad?" Adam gave a faint smile as he spoke to the jury. That moment made him realize that if a child could perceive his sadness, then it was still present within him, a lingering shadow left behind. For the first time that day, he locked eyes with Diddy and expressed, "You took my peace. You took my voice. But you didn't take my truth. I'm reclaiming it now." A profound silence settled in the room, heavier than any other before. The judge acknowledged this, and Adam left the stand, not just as the Sandman or a movie star, but as a man who had triumphantly rediscovered a part of himself that had been hidden away for too long. The courtroom buzzed with tension as Adam returned to the witness stand for one last round of inquiries. The prosecution, clearly sensing the intensity of the moment, gently asked, "Mr. Sandler, earlier you spoke of a recording. Are you ready to share what's on it?" Adam nodded with determination. "Yes." He went on to explain that after reconnecting with his former lawyer in early 2022, they uncovered a cloud account linked to one of Diddy's old home security systems. Although it hadn't been used in years, it wasn't completely erased. Inside, they found an archive of surveillance footage, hundreds of hours from Diddy's estate, featuring angles from private spaces. One folder, dated March 2007, was titled Private Aspen Weekend. Adam clarified that it wasn't labeled with his name, but he remembered that weekend well, and the footage confirmed all his worst fears. As he narrated the contents of the tape, Adam described how he appeared entering a private spa room in a robe, shortly followed by Diddy holding a phone and a glass of wine. What began as light conversation quickly turned awkward. Diddy made a jibe about cleanliness being akin to loyalty, then invited Adam into the spa. Adam recalled, "I had no idea he was recording or watching through the mirrors." He paused, noting that the tub had no water, only bubbles and a thick gel that he later recognized as baby oil. When Diddy urged him to get in, Adam declined. Diddy laughed and said, "What? You think you're too good now?" Adam remained silent and walked away. Now he understood that Diddy had recorded everything. While the footage never made it to the public eye, it was enough to instill fear in Adam regarding his reputation and safety. Weeks later, he received an anonymous envelope at home containing a USB drive. On it was a brief clip from the tape, just enough to insinuate and threaten. Accompanying it was a note that read, "Be careful what you say. We all have ghosts." Adam remarked that this was the ultimate betrayal. "I believed we had moved on, that he had let go, but he still aimed to manipulate me through intimidation." That's when Adam began contacting other stars who had distanced themselves from Diddy. An unnamed former child actor confirmed receiving similar menacing messages. Mysterious texts, video clips, and reminders of past experiences they wished to forget were all part of it. We understood he had an entire network of blackmail at his disposal. Adam mentioned that he didn't need to speak up. Just the knowledge that he had damaging information about you kept people in check. He confessed that for years he shied away from public disputes because he thought everyone would side with Diddy, given Diddy's immense influence and connections. "To many, I'm just a joke, a guy who sings funny songs. Who would take my word over his?" But the trial altered everything. As each witness took the stand, the silence shattered. The myth of Diddy's invincible legacy began to fade. Adam emphasized that he wasn't just speaking for himself, but for everyone who had been belittled by Diddy, for every laugh he faked to mask his fear, and for every friend who turned away when he tried to share his truth. The prosecutor posed one last query. "Do you feel safe now?" Adam gazed at the defense table, responding, "Not really, but I feel acknowledged. And that's a beginning." His concluding remarks in court weren't centered on suffering. They focused on accountability. While the courtroom absorbed the gravity of his narrative, Adam addressed not only the jury but also the cameras, aware that the world was listening. "I'm not the first and I won't be the last, but I might be the loudest," he declared, with a strong, steady voice. "Perhaps that was my purpose all along." He reminisced about a moment from 2005 while filming Click, where he jokingly asked a co-star which part of their life they would want to fast forward through. The actor laughed, but Adam didn't share in the laughter. He reflected on those troubling nights filled with silence and shame, wishing he could erase them. Nearly 20 years later, he stood in court facing that chapter of his life, finally ready to explain it. The defense attempted to undermine his statements, highlighting his career achievements, Netflix deals, and professional freedom. Clearly, Mr. Sandler's career wasn't harmed, the defense attorney smugly asserted. Adam remained unfazed. "Just because I made others laugh doesn't mean I wasn't hurting inside. Do you think success erases trauma? That's the issue. People assume fame provides protection, but it's merely a facade. I wore mine daily." Then he surprised everyone by pulling out a handwritten note from 2004, scribbled on the back of a page from the 51st Dates script. It said, "I wish I could disappear." "I penned that in my trailer," Adam disclosed, right after receiving a call from Diddy, who had heard a rumor that I spoke about Aspen. He warned me that if I didn't quiet down, he would end my comedy act. I chuckled it off during the call, but later I wrote this because I didn't feel humorous. I felt confined. The judge permitted the note to be submitted as evidence, a physical reminder that trauma doesn't always leave marks. Sometimes, it just lingers. Adam's concluding remarks were soft, lacking theatrics or drama, and were simply genuine. "I'm not angry anymore," he stated. "I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted from pretending it never happened. I'm exhausted from acting like it didn't hurt, and I'm tired of feigning that I'm okay when I'm really not." He looked at the audience. "If you've ever hesitated to speak out, if you've ever thought your suffering didn't matter, let this be proof that it does, that you do." The courtroom remained quiet. It didn't need an eruption of applause. The stillness was more impactful than any cheers. As Adam left the stand, he wasn't the cheerful character fans adored. He wasn't the comedic persona they knew. He was simply Adam Sandler, hurt, courageous, and finally liberated. Outside the courthouse, reporters crowded around, but Adam didn't pause to comment. He entered a black SUV with his family and drove away without saying a thing. For once, the comedian had no need to talk. The truth had already spoken volumes. And there it is, the truth, unfiltered and unforgettable. Adam Sandler didn't just speak. He liberated every part of himself that fame had tried to silence. If this testimony moved you, disturbed you, or made you reflect on the hidden wounds people carry behind closed doors, then don't let it vanish into silence. Hit like. If you believe in accountability, drop a comment if you've ever felt unseen in your own pain, and subscribe to stand with voices that need to be heard. Let's not just watch history unfold. Let's be the reason it changes.